Good evening. All right, so good evening, everybody. How is everyone doing today? My name is Angela Ventura. I'm a peer specialist at United Way of Broward County's Commission on Behavioral Health and Drug Prevention. United Way is a nonprofit organization that has been serving our community for 80 years in the impact areas of education, financial stability, and health. The Commission on Behavioral Health and Drug Prevention is a division of United Way, and its mission is to empower our diverse community to live healthy and drug-free. The Commission has different action teams focusing on different areas of prevention, and the event tonight has been organized by the Weston Way, Weston Alliance for Youth, and this is a group of community members, and we have been organizing several events over the last few years, and today's event is the first one that we are doing online via Zoom. This event will be very interactive with a panel and a moderator, and we want all the attendees to participate through our questions and answers feature. All right, so we are going to, so thank you so much for all of you to support our event. We are so excited. Thank you, Beth, Tashe, and the Weston Way for putting together this event. And thank you to our amazing moderator, Rosa Mazuka, and our amazing panelists for bringing your experiences and bringing your stories. And all of that, including, as we enter to our new normal, which includes maintaining our social distancing, washing our hands, wearing face masks, and all that stuff. So with that, Rosa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Angela, and thank you, Beth, for the invitation. My name is Rosa Mazoca. I'm a licensed mental health counselor in the state of Florida. I'm originally from Venezuela, where I hold a license as a school psychologist. I am also the proud mom of two, Angelica, who's 21, and Mariana, who is 18. I work as a school counselor at Cypress Bay High School, where I wear different hats. One of them is I am the suicide prevention designee for the school. I am also one of the 4 sponsors for the Mind Body Medicine group, and we're going to talk a little bit about that a little later today. So I'm here to introduce 5 of my wonderful Mind Body ambassadors. So we're going to have a talk with this amazing, wonderful teenagers. Okay, Sophia, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Sophia Dela Cruz, and as Ms. Mazoka said, I am a part of MBA, and I've been a part of debate since I was a freshman. So yeah.
Nico?
First and foremost, I want to thank everyone for attending this event tonight. I really appreciate it. Something we're very passionate about, and since you guys are showing interest in it too, it's very great. As Ms. Mazoka said, my name is Nico Dodson. I am a junior at Cypress Bay High School and also a Mind Body ambassador. Later on tonight, I will be talking about a method called guided imagery to help reduce stress and to enter a relaxed state of mind. So stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy the presentation.
Thank you, Nico. Mia?
Hi, I'm Mia. So I'm a freshman at Cypress Bay. Outside of Mind Body, I do a lot of work in the creative field. I play the drums, I paint, all that jazz.
Who's next? Jake.
I'm Jake Miller. I'm a junior at Cypress Bay, and I'm part of the Mind Body program there. Since I joined this past year. And later tonight, I hope to emphasize the fostering of the connection between nature and reality and how that can invoke a really strong sense of mindfulness. And I think that there's a really interesting aspect of science behind it. as well as that kind of the lack of science behind it that really requires that immersion into the nature that can facilitate all of these different gratuitous feelings that can be brought on through nature.
Okay, and last but not least, Gabby.
My name is Gabby. I'm a freshman at Cypress Bay and I'm an artist. So later today I'll be talking about how to use art as a method to cope.
Thank you so much to Sophia, Mia, Gabby, Nico, and Jake. As they mentioned, they are Mind Body Ambassadors. And you might be wondering, what is that? We never heard of that. So Mind Body Ambassadors was initially created by Diane Walker Rogers and Helen Fox at Imagery Stormwell Douglas. As we know, back in 2018, MSD had a shooting at their school. A few weeks after the shooting, Dr. Gordon and the Center for Mind-Body Medicine came to Broward County to help with the stress and trauma caused by that situation. At that time, I was part of the first group of people who received training as mind-body medicine practitioners. Since then, I have been working with 3 amazing women at Cypress Bay. Their names are Anna Rusich, Evelyn Gonzalez, and Crystal Reyes, who helped me launch this amazing opportunity. So we are now Cypress Bay Mind-Body Ambassadors. As of today, we have 35 trained ambassadors, and we here have 5 of them. The students usually have to commit to a 6-week training to learn all the coping skills and mind-body medicine skills taught by Dr. Gordon. So as of right now, as I said, we have 35 students and you are talking with 5 of them today. Okay, so we're going to touch on different topics tonight, and each of them is gonna talk from their own experience and also share a few clicks or tips on how you guys can manage this pandemic, okay? So we're gonna start in the same order in which we introduced ourselves to make it easier for me. So we're going to go with Sophia.
Okay, hi everybody. Today I'm going to be talking about mental health during quarantine. So a little personal story. Before quarantine, I used to use school as a coping mechanism. For example, being social. And now that we are in quarantine, it's a little bit harder to try to cope with all of these things, you know, this pandemic going on, but I found myself sometimes trying to, you know, distract myself in other ways other than being with people. For example, things I like to do, I like to watch TV. I like to play Mario Kart with my cousin. I like to, well, my cousin lives in my house, by the way, just in case. You know, I like to do things that distract me. And I think that during this time, especially, distractions are really important because a lot of times, you know, because of this whole pandemic and us having to stay in quarantine, you have a lot of coping mechanisms that maybe you used to use go away. And it's hard at first to manage. I know for me it was hard because it was just different. But, you know, I've learned now to do simple things like pick up a book and maybe even listen to music, do simple things to try to help me. One of the main things I want to touch on is, you know, if you think that you are struggling because of this, I want you to know that you're not alone, because there are so many other people that deal with mental health and are struggling because of this. And there are, you know, it's hard to deal with all of this. And I just want to say that there's people that care about you and, you know, people that love you, like your family and your friends. And it's really important to try to at least, you know, stay and, how do I say? I want to say like,
Reach out. Can I help you there? Reach out.
Yeah, exactly. Reach out. Thank you. It's really important to reach out and ask for help, because you know, now that we're in isolation, it's a lot harder to ask for help than it was before. So below, as you can see, we put some attachments that would be really good that you can check out, because I know personally it's been a lot harder, you know, to reach out, and it's been more difficult. But I just want everybody to know that you aren't alone, and this will be over hopefully soon, and just to try to distract yourself. So yeah, thanks for listening.
Thank you, Sophia. We're gonna go next with Nico.
Okay, once again, I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight and showing interest in this topic. And I'm going to start with guided imagery. Actually, first, I'm going to talk a little bit about stress. So stress is something everybody experiences, some more than others, and it can be very, very frustrating sometimes. It can hinder day-to-day activities. You could feel like you don't want to do something just because it's causing you stress. And sometimes stressful thoughts, they enter your mind and they just seem like they're never going to leave. And it's tough sometimes. So, and then on the stress, some people choose to do the unhealthy coping mechanisms to deal with the stress. And what I'm going to present is a healthy coping mechanism to help transform stress into peace. And that is called guided imagery. So guided imagery incorporates what we call soft belly breathing, which is a principal cornerstone of mind-body medicine. You breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth very slowly and with your eyes closed or looking down at a gaze to become more relaxed and reduce stress. So it does incorporate that technique, but something that's additional is that you are read a script or you're listening to an oration from a video that describes a setting or a scenario where you're being read, maybe a location like the beach or the woods, to help you picture that certain setting in your mind. And in addition, those orations and those scripts, they contain elements to help you use your senses to like envision that setting. I know it sounds crazy, but your mind is so powerful that you can sometimes sense things even though it's not real, you're just thinking about it. That's the power if you really focus on guided imagery. So the first time I did guided imagery, I was a bit apprehensive. I was a bit skeptical, if you will. And I'm telling you, 10 minutes after we finished it, I was stunned. We were read a script about the setting was a kitchen, and it involved a lemon, which we would cut and we would pick up the lemon, smell the lemon, and then bite into the lemon, and you could actually experience some of the senses you would normally experience if it was real. And it was really eye-opening to me. I was surprised. And now you might be wondering, how does this exactly reduce stress? So basically, what causes stress, it's called a stressor. It can be something in the back of your mind, maybe a due date, a deadline, a meeting, something that's going to happen in the future that's causing you to worry and giving you anxiety. You can find it that's always in your mind. And what this technique does is it doesn't necessarily get rid of that stressor, but it replaces it with the scenario that you're being read so that it doesn't affect you as much. And this guided imagery, it allows you to focus your mind on what is being read to you, and if you strongly envision that setting, it is powerful enough to overcome the stressor, and you enter a tranquil state during the guided imagery that helps to overcome what's stressing you out. And when you exit the meditation, you find yourself in a much better state of mind and much more peaceful than when you entered. And just like many things, like riding a bike, driving a car, this does take practice. It's not going to happen maybe the first time, but maybe it will, depending on the person. But it does take some practice. For me, it took a couple times before I really, really experienced how beneficial it can be. And especially during these times with relatives and everyone's worrying about the virus, and it can be a very stressful time. It's a perfect way, not very time consuming, maybe 10 minutes tops to do. You can find videos on YouTube. You can look up scripts, have someone read them to you. And it's a very, very beneficial practice to help reduce stress related to the virus. So that is essentially an overview of guided imagery and how it can help you transform stress into peace. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask us later during the Q&A portion. And once again, thank you everyone for attending tonight.
Thank you, Nico. Very good approach and explaining how stress and anxiety work in real life. You know, we all suffer from stress or anxiety one way or the other. I want to remind you guys that we want this to be very interactive tonight. You're listening to us, but we are also here to answer some questions that you might have at the end. Okay, so now we have Mia next.
Hi, yeah, piggybacking off of Nico, if you wanted to try soft belly, we have an Instagram, CBHS Mind Body, and we have a video just doing soft belly on there. So if you wanted to try it, you can go there and just interact. But yeah, I wanted to
Can
talk
you
about
repeat that again? It's on Instagram and the
Instagram, CBHS Mind Body. So yeah, there's a video there and you can just follow along. Yeah, so I wanted to talk about our switch to online and how stressful or just different it is, and how different can be good or be bad. Some teachers do give us unrealistic workloads or due dates, and I know for me it can be stressful. Like for me, I am a visual learner and online it's, you know, a mix of it, and I'm also textile, so I like touching things and being able to feel them. So online for me is kind of bad and good at the same time, but also I work better at night, and due dates being in the morning, not so great. I'm not feeling great about that. So yeah, not being able to ask as many questions, not being able to in person, you know, talk to people and ask them as many questions, and teachers, and have that, you know, almost parental figure. And yeah, also at home distractions, you know, like your parents barging into your room like 24/7, or your phone going off, and then you're just trying to get work done. For me,
your
I
doggy
struggle with,
barking.
yeah,
Your
you
doggy
can,
barking.
yeah, she's whining at the door. So yeah, I mean, like distractions, like you're just trying to work, and that's how I think of online school, and that's what I'm personally going through. So yeah.
Jake, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So, of course, thank you guys all for joining this webinar. It shows commitment to either improving yourself or hoping to gain something from this session tonight. And it really does show the effort and commitment for self-improvement. But I hope I can convince you guys of a relatively simple method that can invoke a sense of mindfulness, like I was discussing, that doesn't require much of anything besides being able to go outside and just be in nature for a specific amount of time. So I like to fish. That's one of my most favorite hobbies, and throughout the years I've been able to do it less and less. But when I find that I'm able to go back and just harken back my skills of when I was able to go out there and fish nearly every day, I just find myself being much more peaceful. And it's despite the fact that it takes time out of your day to do something that you consider to be more productive, I can assure you that just by taking the time that you would have spent doing something else and placing your determined efforts and focus on something like just taking a walk or just walking your dog or just riding a bike, it can help you be way more productive in the long run and just really allow you to become more at peace and just really have more control of your locus of control, which is one of the main aspects of stress. Kind of one of the main ways that people either can reduce their stress or increase their stress is the lack of control over this locus of control. And the methodology and the science behind actually being outside tends to be one of the things that is most complex about being able to gain mindfulness at all, or any aspect, not just the aspect of being able to be outside and be in nature, really any aspect of mindfulness at all. But I think the more important thing to take away is not the science behind it, but just the acceptance of the fact that no matter what, there is a serene aspect to nature and being outside that can induce this mindfulness within a person. And I think that that's really the important thing to consider, and not trying to put a science behind it, but instead just accepting this wonderful benefit that the world around us can provide.
You bring a very good point, Jake, because you're talking about the science behind it. And even though we don't want to bother you guys with a long explanation of the science behind it, as Jake mentioned, there is science. All these techniques are research-based. All these techniques that mind-body medicine teaches to manage stress are based on, they're proven by research to work. It's not because Jake is saying it, it's not because Mia is saying it. It's because research has shown that it works. And that's the science of it. That's the beauty of it. We don't need to really understand the science behind it to enjoy it. And that's a very good point you bring, Jake. Thank you. Gabby, you're next.
Hi everyone. I just like to thank everyone for just joining in and listening. Today I'm going to be talking about using art as a coping mechanism. And I think that this is a really important one, mostly because everyone can participate in it. I know some people think, well, I'm an artist, so I don't think this, since I've been doing it my entire life. But some people think that making a little doodle or drawing is like childish, but it really, really does help to reduce stress. I've been using it as a mechanism for stress and anxiety my entire life, and it definitely helps. And since everyone's bored during quarantine, it's also a very fun activity to do. So usually whenever I'm really stressed out about something, it's like the first thing that I go to. And it's just like super simple. And touching on what Sophia said earlier, a lot of people's like regular coping mechanisms have been taken away. For example, going to school, talking to my friends, that was one of mine. But yeah, just drawing, taking out a piece of paper, pen, pencil, whatever you have around you, and even just like making things using the items around your house. It just gives you a little creative outlet and something to do when you're bored at home. And it's like really satisfying to see like a finished product once you've made something. So yeah.
Thank you, Gabby. As you mentioned and Sophia mentioned as well, all of us, adults, teachers, parents, teenagers, little kids, everybody is suffering from this change in our routine, okay? From one day to the next, we were told you need to stay home and your routine, what you are used to, changed drastically, okay? So we are trying to help you guys understand that we can create new routines and we can use coping skills to get us through this time. Okay, now I want to also ask you guys, you want to share a little bit about your experience as becoming the first cohort of Mind Body Ambassadors, and I'm sure my other Mind Body Ambassadors are also joining us tonight. I see that we have 75 people participating, so I want to make sure we acknowledge our other 30 Mind Body Ambassadors that might be behind the screen watching us as well. So do you guys want to share, you know, personal experiences and how you, your experience in the 6 weeks that you became in the training to become an ambassador? Not everybody at the same time, please. It's just
During
for fun.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
you can go ahead, Nico.
Okay, so so when I heard about Mind Body, the opportunity for the 6-week training, you know, I'm someone who sometimes gets a little bit nervous for tests and gets a little bit of testing anxiety. So I saw this as an opportunity to change that and to improve myself so I can perform better on tests and all that without having to deal with the stress. And the 6-week training program was very enriching. And we learned several techniques in addition to the ones I mentioned. Some we haven't even mentioned. There's so many different techniques to do it, and some of them take literally less than 2 minutes to do. And
Can you tell us about one of the other techniques, like my favorite one, for example?
Shake and move is a technique where you stand up and you close your eyes and you listen to a certain piece of music and you shake and move as in the name, and it seems to like literally shake stress off. It just releases it, and you enter like a different state where you're just not feeling the stress anymore. And it's a great technique. And then after you do the period of shaking and moving, you listen to a different song with a different kind of rhythm and beat where you also shake and move also, and you start like you dance, and It's a bit odd at first maybe, but it's very, very rewarding, and it seems to just release stress just like that. And once you open your eyes and you're done with the process, it's just a whole different energy surrounding you, and it's just very, very rewarding. It's great, great
Great.
exercise. Yeah.
Thank you. You wanted to go answer that question, Sophia?
Here, let me see.
There you are.
Yeah, I'm right here. I'm going to try to, there we go. Okay. I'm trying to get there we go. Okay. So how can you become a mind body ambassador? So one of the main ways you can do that is whenever we go back to school, you can talk to Miss Mazoka or any of the other 4 sponsors, and they can help you start. For example, now during this time, maybe you can try starting some of the techniques that Nico was talking about, or Miss Mazoka, you know. But yeah, I'd say talk to Miss Mazoka or any of our 4 sponsors and see what they can tell you, and then you can start the 6-week process like we did.
We usually have to have a minimum of 10 ambassadors or 10 participants wanting to join.
Right.
And we have, for example, Ms. Reyes and me, we run one group, and Ms. Rusich and Ms. Gonzalez run the other group. So we can train as many as 20 ambassadors at a time, okay? So hopefully when we get back to school, we'll be training another cohort with 20 more ambassadors. It's most setting because it's a very personal and unique experience. I have another question that came here. It says, what are some of the biggest stressors that Western students are struggling with? It feels like answering that question.
I can answer if that's good. Does anyone else want to go, or should I?
Go.
So
yeah, sure, I could add on to whatever you
okay.
say.
So I would say the main thing that I think every student can agree on that's stressful are tests and quizzes. And then when you have multiple classes, sometimes they overlap and it can get a bit overwhelming. I think everyone can pretty much agree on that. They've been stressed by a test at some point. It's just how it is. And some of the other things you have to know also, in addition to academic pressures, there's social pressures. We're going through a time period where, kids are starting to do different things. And, some kids are exploring into realms that others may not feel comfortable about. And it's a challenging time socially and academically. There's just a lot of pressure put on. And I'd say probably those 2 are the biggest ones for me that are causing stress now.
You want to add to that, Jake?
I think he got it pretty good. I would have said, yeah, those 2 aspects as well. Of course, everyone is different and individual and has their own different pressures that are placed on them, either through society or their parents or their family members or friends. But yeah, I'd say definitely the academic pressure as well as the societal stigmas. Those 2 tend to be the most common. But like I said, everybody is different, so it may depend on who you are as a person. But yeah, he answered it perfectly.
Okay, so I'm going to read more of the questions. I wanted to remind everybody that United Way organized this wonderful event as a webinar, and we can interact with you guys through the Q&A, but we can't see you. There's somebody there saying, hey, why can't you see me? Can you hear me? We can't see you or hear you. We're going to interact with you through the Q&A. So yes, we can, that's the way we're interacting. I have some more other questions coming in. There is one that says, is this only offered at Cypress Bay High School? So I'm going to answer that question. As I mentioned at the beginning, this was started at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, and I know other high schools like Plantation High School has it as well. And I am aware that Falcon Co. have a few people who became trained teachers or staff members who became certified in mind-body medicine. So it's something that is growing, and hopefully anytime soon, every school is going to have the opportunity to have a mind-body ambassador club. But it's starting very small because it really requires the person who's training this ambassadors to have the training in mind-body medicine. So as that I know of, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, Cypress Bay High School, Plantation High School have it as of right now. Some other elementary schools have it, and some other middle schools have it. You can ask at your school if anyone is trained to run those meetings. Okay. So I'm going to keep reading. We have lots of questions coming in. What are the requirements to become an ambassador? The only requirement is to want to be one and join the 6-week training. They require the parents to sign a consent where the parents agree that the students want to participate in this program. And then they need to commit to attend the 6 weeks. We cannot have, people missing sessions. I have another question right here. What do you think the future looks like for online learning and connecting with others virtually? And it's open for any of you that wanna answer that question. And I see Mia giggling. Maybe Mia wants to answer that question.
Yeah, I can definitely. For me, I think that the future with online learning, now that we can obviously see that like we can use Zoom or other platforms to do classes online, and that I think travel for like meetings or anything like that can be eliminated. And I think more things will be more able to go online and, just be online.
Anyone else want to add to that?
I'll add to it.
Yeah.
So I think that maybe in the future, obviously we're not going to be in quarantine for however long, but I think that maybe teachers will start incorporating more online things because they know how it works. So for example, maybe taking a couple tests on there, because I know some of my teachers have already started to do that. So yeah.
And some of the classes might even be blended as of today. We have some classes who the teacher is in the classroom teaching to their students, but some of the assignments might be turned in through Canvas. So a lot of classes, even when regular school is in session, are blended in a blended format. So I think online is really growing, even when we are in the regular school setting. Another question, we're getting a lot of interesting questions. What are the type of activities that you do in the 6-week training? Jake, you want to answer that?
Yeah, sure. So there's 6 weeks in the program, like Ms. Mazoka mentioned. And so each week you explore either usually 1 to 2 different topics or different meditative practices. So like one week it will be guided imagery, another week it could be another topic. And one of the main ones that stuck out to me were the mindful eating. We actually did an exercise where we just we selected a certain snack, that being either a chocolate or a grape. And then we just we just did some kind of mindful thought prior to that. And then another one we did the mindful drawing. And so we just and that was actually like a progression throughout the course. We did one at the first day and the last day, and we were able to kind of compare to really see the profound effect that that the course had on you. Additionally, one other one that stuck out to me, I forget the name of it, but it was essentially like an internal dialogue. It was a script. It wasn't guided imagery, but it was an internal dialogue read through a script. I forget the technical name for it.
I'll help you.
But
I'll
you
help
explore
you
why.
with that. It's dialogue with the symptoms, something that you have.
Okay, yeah.
That you want to talk with,
Right, yeah. So it's adapting, it's changing. There's different things we like to incorporate that will be incorporated or infused depending on where you do it or which cohort you're in. But there are a certain core number of things that we like to do that everyone tends to find pretty enjoyable. So.
You want to add anything to that, Gabby?
I just like to say that the drawing one was like probably my favorite, and seeing the progression that we had at the beginning, at the end too, because we got to see our drawings and compare them. I think that was one of my favorite things. Also, one of them that I was not expecting to be one of my favorite things is shake and move, because usually I don't like to really like put myself out there. Like I would never like dance in front of other people. I just don't do that. But I definitely, that was one of my favorite ones because I just felt like refreshed afterwards, and I couldn't understand why, but it was like, yeah, those are my two favorites.
I have a very interesting question coming in, and it says, what techniques, other than the ones you have mentioned, like shake and move and guided imagery, can be used? And I want you guys to touch on the soft belly one, which is our main, who wants to talk about that?
I can touch on soft belly. So soft belly breathing is pretty much the first thing you learn during the mind body training, because it's commonly used in many other activities that you do learn later on. And this is probably the easiest one to do. Doesn't really, the script is helpful, but you can do this like anytime, very, very not time consuming, not really demanding that much time, where you close your eyes, you look down at a soft gaze. Well, closing the eyes is usually more, enhances it more, but you can look down. And you really just, you concentrate on your breath. You concentrate on the air going through your nose and you hold it and then you let it go out through your mouth. And by concentrating on the breath, you're just like removing the stresses in your mind by just putting that focus somewhere else. And when you exit the state that you are in while you're doing soft belly breathing, you feel more relaxed and ready to go with whatever task you were doing prior. So that's, yeah, one of the staples of mind body medicine.
I have another question here. It says, when do you use this type of techniques? When do you use this type of techniques?
I can answer that one. I use soft belly every time I have a test because I have really bad testing anxiety to the point where I just like, my mind just moves blank and I cannot think. And before I learned this, that would happen to me like almost every single time I would take a test. But once I would like focus on my breathing and just do the soft belly breathing, it would tremendously help me. Like I noticed that I was like so much more relaxed afterwards and just like so much more capable of taking the test, and it just like really helped me out.
So this question I want Sophia to answer. What is one of the things that you look forward the most once quarantine is beginning to phase out?
I think one of the things I'm looking most forward to is not only seeing like family and friends, but also seeing my MBA people, because, after being at home for so long, you miss everyone. And I think that would be really nice to be able to see everyone.
Another question says, where is the training usually hosted? We usually host the training after school in one of the classrooms at school. Okay. Then we have another question coming in. Have you heard of any peers going through vaping nicotine withdrawal now that they are stuck at home? And that will be one of the known healthy coping mechanisms. Have you heard of anything like that, guys? We know that, teenagers at this time might be engaging in some behaviors that are not positive behaviors, and that might, have behaviors that might impact the way they are feeling right now.
I know personally for me, I haven't heard anybody going through any type of withdrawal because I try to surround myself with the most positive people I can, I try. But yeah, for me, I haven't heard anybody dealing with any sort of withdrawal.
Thank you. Anyone else wanted to share on that?
Yeah, I'll touch on that. Like Sophia, I haven't heard any specific circumstances of withdrawal because I surround myself with people that I know do not take part in that. I do know how big of an issue it is though, and I'm sure there are kids having that problem, which is why I think we need to really, really encourage what we learned in that 6-week program. And because when kids realize that you can cope with these feelings in a healthy way, as opposed to just nicotine intake. I think it's going to be very rewarding to the overall school population because it is a serious issue. I have noticed that, but I haven't heard any specific withdrawal scenarios as of now, but I'm sure there are.
And I have an anonymous attendee here saying, I want to highly thank Ms. Masoka for such a great work with our kids. I don't know who that is, but thank you for that. That was sweet of you. Another question that came in says, what are some music recommendations for Shake and Move? As Nicholas mentioned earlier, the first part of the Shake and Move is some blasting music, then a minute of standing still, and then the second part of the movement will be any type of music that you enjoy. Next question. Is physical activity such as exercise or yoga emphasized as a stress reliever? Jake, you want to go for that one?
Yes, and the simple answer to that would be yes, 100%, absolutely. Those are two of the most sought after activities you can engage in, whether it's just walking down the block or, like I mentioned earlier, just riding your bike, just doing anything just to get that physical activity, get outside and get that fresh breath of air. It's one of the best ways to just kind of release all that tension. Both, I think the important thing about it is it's the physical as well as that mental release. And so, like I mentioned earlier, there is some science behind it. It's the endorphins that are being released, but at the same time, you don't really need to actually know anything besides just that experience. So just being able to experience it for yourself is the crucial factor in being able to properly apply such techniques. So like I mentioned, doing a meditative walk, just walking outside and just taking note of just the things around you, just as simple as that. It can really enhance your productivity and just enhance your well-being overall.
I'd like to add on that. I want to say that, there are some people that don't really like exercise, for example, me. I'm not a huge fan, but like Jake was saying, walks are a really great thing. And even jogging is something that doesn't take too much effort, but it's still good enough. So yeah, even if you don't like to go to the gym for an hour for 3 days a week, something like walking is good.
Thank you, Sophia and Jake. I have other questions coming in. If my high school is not participating, can I join another school program? There is some programs being offered in the community that are not necessarily linked to a high school. Parents and community members can join a mind-body group. So if you need more information, I can put you in contact with people out in the community that are not necessarily related to a school that can help you with that. Let me read more questions. Another very interesting questions. Are any of these techniques posted online? We talked about that, guys. Exactly, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So on the one I talked about, guided imagery, if you do search up guided imagery meditations on YouTube, there's plenty of them. And you simply just press listen and you do the activity. And so, yeah, that's the main one that I use online. Also, I found that using this before you go to sleep can sometimes help you go to sleep if you have problems with that also. It's one of my main reasons and one of the best uses I have for guided imagery is also to help me sleep. So yeah, they're all you can find online, plenty of them.
Yeah, I can attest to that. I can attest to that. It does actually help with sleep. And yeah, all of the mechanisms, you can find them online on YouTube. I usually find the guided imagery on SoundCloud. That works. So, different things you can find.
Thank you, Sophia. I wanted to remind everybody that all the Broward County schools students have access to the Broward County Mindfulness Initiative by Mr. Ronci. So all the tips that Dr. Gordon provided us in this mind-body medicine training are listed in that. So every single Broward County student has access through their Canvas to the mindfulness initiative. And in that mindfulness initiative, there is all this information, including live video chats from our ambassadors from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, who have been featured in that. So everybody has access to that through the mindfulness initiative in Broward County Schools. Let's see what else.
Oh, and Ms. Mazuka, I accidentally dismissed a question, but it was a really good question. If I could just address it before we move on.
Yes, go ahead.
So the question was, can just petting your pets be a stress reliever? And yes, it certainly is. Anything that you find to relieve stress, it can totally act as a stress reliever. So even if you don't have pets, something else may perfectly fit what you need to relax and just unwind. But yeah, I have pets, and I have 2 dogs, and I know that's one of the best ways. Just petting your dogs can definitely be a stress reliever.
Any other questions that you guys see? I think okay, there's one here that says, what 6 weeks? The 6 weeks is going to depend on the school, and it's usually, once you show interest, we will let you know what 6 weeks are. It's usually after school for 2 hours. Okay. Any other questions coming in? You guys have been a wonderful audience. We are so happy that you guys joined. Go ahead. You wanted to say something, Nico?
Ms. Mazuka, I see a pretty good question if I
Go ahead.
answer.
Yes.
Yeah, I see a question that says, any tips on how to enhance motivation? So I can also relate to this. It's because sometimes it's hard to be like as motivated as you were when you were in school, because you don't have to like wake up at 6 a.m., 7 a.m. You are given that freedom. I think the best way to stay motivated is just to set a schedule. It's as easy as that. Set specific times for when you want to complete certain tasks. And then at the end of it, list out a reward after you would like complete a task. Say you have 3 homework assignments. Set those for maybe 10 a.m. and finish them by 4. So if you get all those done by 4, after that, give yourself a couple hours of free time. And I think that's probably the best way to stay motivated, even though it's pretty difficult. I think setting a schedule is just, yeah, I've been setting a schedule as of late because I noticed my motivation is like not as much as it used to be when I was in school. And that has so far helped me to, gain that motivation back. So setting a schedule is definitely very helpful for that.
I have somebody mentioning it will be a great idea if Cypress or Broward County schools can offer meditation and even yoga for kids that will help with online learning and help while not in school interacting with classmates. I don't know, it might be a great idea. Yes, it is a great idea, and I invite you or your daughter or son to go into the mindfulness tile on Canvas on the single sign-on, and there are some wonderful resources in there for those students. Okay, are you guys getting any other questions that I'm not reading?
I found one question that I kind of want to answer.
Okay, go ahead.
So the question is, are your peers interested in getting more information about the program once they see what it offers? And I just want to say yes, because I've told like lots of my friends about this program and they wanted to join like as soon as I said that it helps like relieve stress. Because I think that most kids don't really want to look for these things because I guess they just don't want to talk about it. But once like they see that one of their friends is in it or like people in their school are joining like clubs like this, they'll also want to participate because no one wants to be that first one that's going in alone. But once like everyone kind of invites their friends, it's more like common and more like welcome.
Thank you, Gabby.
If I can add to what she said. I think the most important thing when like dealing with that is to like try to reduce the apprehensiveness, because there's sometimes some hesitation before trying something new. So I think being open-minded in that scenario is just the most important thing, because once you take part in these activities, then you really realize how rewarding they are. And like she said, when your friends are experiencing them and your friends tell you, like a lot of people listen to their friends and they want to experience the same things their friends might be telling them. But I think when people experience it for the first time and are actually doing the activities, that's probably the most rewarding for, especially for my body. Yeah.
Do you guys have one last thing that you want our guests to go leave with? Anything that if you were to have a last minute, you know, like a greeting that you want everybody to leave with?
For me personally, I just want everybody to know that this is a really tough time and you're not alone. There's a lot of people that are going through many different issues, and to know that you have people around you that love you and care about you. I know personally, I have a lot of people that love me and care about me, and you know, to know that it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah, I love that. One more to close?
I also want to say something. If anyone listening is planning on trying some of these techniques that we talked about today, and maybe you notice that it doesn't work the first time as you might have hoped, please keep trying. Trust me, sometimes it takes time. Also depends on the person, on who's doing it. Just don't try something once, and then if it doesn't work as planned or doesn't really remove stress, don't disregard it. It's like learning how to ride a bike. It takes time sometimes. So just keep at it, and eventually you will find that it's extremely rewarding to reduce stress. So yeah.
I want to take this opportunity and very connect with being thankful and with gratitude with Angela and with Beth, because this is really, I'm very, very having a proud moment right here as this 5 Mind Body Ambassadors walked us through a little snippet of what techniques can be used to manage stress and anxiety during this difficult time. So with a full heart, I'm very thankful. I'm proud of you guys, and I want to bring it to Beth.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Rosa. Thank you to all of your fabulous ambassadors. You guys did a fabulous job. I'm also very, very proud of all of you. And I'm proud to represent the way. It's not just myself, it's an entire committee. And we do work throughout the year putting on town hall meetings. And this was our first virtual town hall meeting, Team Talk. And I'm super proud and super happy. I think you guys all did a fabulous job. And I want to thank everyone for being here and participating, and everyone who signed up. We will be sending out some information. There was a lot of questions about the Mind Body program, and we definitely will be sharing that along with tips on anxiety and stress and all that. So please look for that in an email, in a future email. And if you have any questions, again, this was put on through the United Way, and in particular, the Way, which is the Weston Alliance for You. And with that, we have a couple more minutes. Angela, I don't know if you want to say anything.
Sure, yes. Thank you so much, Beth, for all that you do with the Weston Way and the entire committee. Thank you so much, Rosa, and all the panelists. You are all wonderful, amazing. And thank you for sharing all your knowledge, all your tips and ideas with all of us today. Thank you also, all the attendees, for supporting our efforts. Our community is amazing, and we are in this together, and we will be able to succeed getting used to this new normal. These ambassadors are great examples of how our community is very resilient, and we all can make this quarantine a productive one. So thank you all and have a wonderful night. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. I know I was on
Thank you.
mute.
Yeah. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.